today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of March. March was actually a really good reading month for me. I read a bunch of books and I was even able to read an ARC book, which is an advanced reader copy of a book that is not going to be released until May, which was really exciting. I also found my new favorite series that I'm currently in the middle of. I had to pause it because I didn't want to finish the whole thing because I don't want it to be over. So I put that one on pause, but I'm definitely going to go back to it in the month of April. Alright, so let's get started. The first book that I read is called The Body Snatchers. This one didn't come with a dust cover. I got it from a used bookstore, but this was actually the first book that I read with my TBR jar, which I've had so much fun doing this month. This book was a 4.5 stars for me. It's sci-fi, and I love sci-fi movies. This is actually the first sci-fi book that I read, and I really enjoyed it. It's about these alien life forms that come into Earth and start invading human bodies, but you can't really tell that they're invading human bodies because they look exactly the same and act exactly the same, but there's like a little glassy look in their eye, which is how you can tell that the aliens have taken over the people's bodies. The ending is super crazy. There's a bunch of plot twists, and it's less than 200 pages, so it's a super quick and easy read. It was also first published in 1988, so it's kind of an older book, but it's still really good. The next book that I read is called This Spells Love. This one I actually started reading because I left The Body Snatchers at my boyfriend's place, so I had to pick another book in the meantime, and I decided to pick this one. This one I got from the library. I was nervous to read this book because it's a rom-com book, and I don't really like rom-coms, but I ended up really liking this book. It was hilarious and I couldn't stop laughing, and it was such an easy read. It's about this girl named Gemma who gets broken up with, so then she does a spell with her aunt and her sister to get over this heartbreak, but she ends up waking up in an alternate universe where she never meets her ex, but she also doesn't meet her best friend who's a guy, and they, you know, start liking each other throughout the story. And there's so many like twists and turns, and it's so hilarious. Like everything they say, their little like banter and like comebacks are so great. I couldn't stop laughing, and I gave this a 5-star. It was so good, and I was so surprised how good it was. And then after I read that, I was a little nervous to start another book because I didn't want to pick up a book that I didn't like. But the next book that I read was Shatter Me, and this is the beginning of my obsession with the Shatter Me series. I really enjoyed reading this first book. I really love watching dystopian movies, and this was the first dystopian book that I've read, and I loved it. This is about a girl named Juliet who has a lethal touch, so if anybody touches her or she touches somebody, they get hurt, and sometimes they even die. So she lives in this world where she's like isolated, but then all of a sudden she gets paired up in a cell with another person, and this person named is Adam. We don't like Adam. We don't like him. She gets taken out of her cell by the leader of the sector of the reestablishment, which is trying to use her as a weapon. And the writing in this book is very interesting because it kind of shows the thinking of Juliet, like what's going on in her head. So some of the stuff are crossed out, which I thought was really interesting. And I also listened to the audiobook as I was reading this book, and I think that helped me like realize that the crossing out of some of the lines was her trying to like restructure her thinking. And right after I finished this one, I started the novella. I feel like that novella, you have to read it in order to get the point of view and like the background of Warner and why he loves Juliet so much. I really love that novella. I really did not like Warner in the first book, but after reading that novella, it changed my mind on him, and he's actually my favorite now. So I would definitely read that novella before you read the second book, which is Unravel Me. This one was still really good, but it wasn't as good as the first one. It's a little bit longer, but it also has like the battle scenes, which was really good. A little bit more Kenji. Kenji is one of my favorite characters as well. But after reading this, I read the second novella, which is Fracture Me, and that's Adam's point of view. And that one made me not like Adam at all. I actually didn't really like that novella. I could have gone without reading it, but I read it anyways. Read it if you want, but you don't have to. It's not necessary like the first novella. So after reading Fracture Me, I moved on to the third book in the series, Ignite Me, and this is my favorite because we get a lot more Warner in this. Warner is like the love interest with Juliet and Adam, so there's kind of like a love triangle. See a little bit more battle scenes and how he treats her and how Adam treats her, and like her growth in this is so good. I felt like it was a little bit rushed at the end, but it was still really good. And also we get a lot more Kenji in this one too, and Kenji is like super hilarious and essential to the story, and he's also my favorite, so it was good. The next book that I read was an ARC book. It's called Bumps in the Road by Kat Paige, and this one was really good. I gave it a 4-star rating purely on vibes. I was so giddy while reading it, and I feel like there were some parts that I was like, you know, it didn't really add to the story, but it didn't really matter because the rest of the story was really good. It's about this girl named Piper who goes to Scotland to drop off her best friend who is going to move there for school. And then it turns out that her best friend's brother also goes on the trip, but it's a surprise. Nobody knows that he's on the trip, but he only goes because he's thinking of moving there too, but nobody else knows that. But while they're on this trip, Piper and the boy, Nick, end up going on a road trip together because the friend Rachel has to go on a school orientation, and she begs them to go on this road trip so that they can start getting along again because they do not get along at all. And on this road trip a lot happens and they end up rekindling their like little crushes on each other. And I feel like this was such a feel-good story. It was so cute, so adorable. The ending was just so great. Felt so like happy for them. That book doesn't come out until May 7th, but I was lucky enough to read it beforehand, and I'm so glad that I got my hands on a copy. It was the cutest little story that I've read so far. And the last book that I read in March, I haven't finished it actually, I just started it, but it's Wildfire. And I've been wanting to read this book forever, and I'm so excited to finally be starting to read it. I'm not going to talk about it yet because I haven't finished it, but I am like annotating it, and this is the first time I annotate any book, but it's been so fun reading this book so far, and I can't wait to finish it. But I'm actually gonna give the rating and the review for this one in my April wrap up because I haven't finished it. Alright, and these are all the books that I read in March. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so excited for all the books that I have planned to read in April. And don't forget to leave a comment if you've read any of these books, or if you have any books that you would want me to read, because I'm always looking for new books to read. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!